Hey there, everyone. I'm Jeremy Thone, the podcast producer over here at GLCS. We've got a very special episode for you today, just in time for National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. This episode is a compilation of stories from drivers, industry professionals, and even a few fans who wanted to show their appreciation for the men and women who keep our country moving. One of the other highlights is a first-hand account from Evan Shelley of Truck Parking Club. He is joined by Indy trucker Chris Thomas on an 8-day road trip, and they share their experiences of navigating the challenges of finding truck parking, especially late at night off the I-80. We also hear from our fearless CEO and founder of GLCS, Nate Johnson, a former truck driver turned technology entrepreneur who founded our company. He'll talk about his mission to empower and support the drivers who have shaped his career. We'll get to hear from some of the visitors to our GLCS booth at the Trimble Insight Conference, who took a moment to thank truck drivers for their hard work. And lastly, we will have Rosalinda Tejada talk about her experience as a truck driver and how she was able to escape domestic abuse and then buy her family a house. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this special episode dedicated to the truckers delivering goods all throughout America. We appreciate you.
On a pneumatic, where do you typically, kind of operate all in the same area, or are you everywhere? I mean, I've been paying more attention to you on Twitter lately, but haven't got the idea of entirely where you operate. So where do you typically run?
I mean, 90% of the time I'm east of the Rockies. So, pretty much the Midwest, all up to Northeast, Southeast. That's kind of the main area. I don't go to Texas a whole lot. We have, some dedicated accounts across the country, but, generally we're a 48 state carrier. And also we run into Canada, which I do run into Canada quite a bit during the year. And, no, I just go all over. Sometimes I get onto a dedicated gig and I'll not stay, I stayed on one dedicated account for a couple of years, mostly there, just running in the coal power plants over around the Ohio Valley in Pennsylvania, which was just a great time in my life to have that opportunity. And, I've tried out a few other dedicated, but I'm kind of a road warrior. As I say, there's a beauty into America, and part of the benefit of being an over-the-road trucker is getting to see the entire country, in all of its different stages and growth and decline. And it's just a great time, any time, in my opinion, is to be a good time to just be traveling all over our beautiful country.
No, I agree to that. It's something I miss. So I always enjoy driving. I still love road trips. I think I've said that on a previous podcast. It's to this day, I still miss driving. So if I didn't have different path, different time, but I drove for quite a bit of my life, and it's something I still have a passion for. And everything that I typically do, I'm looking at how our drivers. Actually, I was just on a call previous to the podcast talking about drivers and how to enhance that type of role. But the experience and drive, I like driving the West Coast, so I always was, West is best, and just waking up in the mountains, getting that fog and the sunlight in the morning and whatnot. There's just nothing better than that. And hearing the trucks fire up, of course, is a little different now with APUs, but there's just that morning phase of the day that always sits with me. And there's something to be said about driving, so I envy it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for those who've never been to the Pacific Northwest and woke up at a quiet rest area and just take a walk over into the woods there a little bit, and you can just go in and there's definitely a different feeling about driving on the West Coast. Sometimes I miss it. I'm not sure that I'm ready to take on the emissions debacle yet as a single truck owner operator. I have a lot of two-way advice on that street, and I'm not sure which path I want to follow. What's been working for me. I've been in the same truck now for, I've been in this truck for 10 years, and then that's a rare thing. Most guys don't stay in one truck for that long, but here I am, still going, and may get out of it one day, may not. I'm not really sure yet.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I have a picture that you put up, I think yesterday, of your truck here. So I'm going to share my screen once it cooperates. So this should be, there we go. So that's your truck, right?
Yep, that's it. That's Claudette.
Claudette.
Every guy should own, or gal should name their truck. I found out that the trucks seem to do a little bit better if you call them a female name. So there's definitely maybe a superstition to that you should pay attention to. My first two trucks, Clyde and Barney, they were definitely learning experiences. But no, I've had that truck since 2013. It's a 2000 Freightliner Classic XL, 262-inch wheelbase. I got the Eaton 404 rears, 355s. I got 10-speed transmission Eaton, and I got a red top Cummins 525 Select Plus M14. So there's a spec for you.
Saw the picture of the Cummins the other day, and it's giving you some fits right now. So
yeah, well, I was stressing out, and I heard a little chirp, and then I seen the oil, and I started assuming the worst. I was like, oh man, I've got a head gasket going. I'm like, and of course that goes to, well, why did the head gasket go? What's going on once you pull in there? But I cleaned it up a few times. I think we dodged the bullet. I think it's just the Jake box leaking, and just particularly the way it's running down makes it look worse than it honestly is. So we're living to fight another day. But that's being an owner operator. You just never know what you're going to wake up to in the morning.
Right.
It's every day. I mean, yeah, you make really good money, don't get me wrong, but you can also spend a lot of that money really quick, and you have to be ready for those kind of challenges at any given time.
You and Chris Thomas were out for 8 days, and that was your first time out over the road with someone, or was it not?
Yeah, that was the first time out over the road. Yeah, and we kind of just came up with the idea. I think it might have actually been on like a live show. We were just hanging out talking, I think Logistics Lounge or something, and he starts talking about it, and I was like, well, if you can get a load out to Manifest, I'll cover your ticket. And I didn't expect him to actually do it. But yeah. I'm happy. I'm so happy he did.
Right.
But I didn't expect him. I figured he'd be like, it'd be one of those things where it's like, yeah, we'll see. And then just nothing ever comes of it. But he texted me like the next day. He's like, man, I found a load. And so it was amazing. So he comes out and like, I'm like, that's awesome. And then he's like, do you want to just hop in the truck? This was like the week before or something. I was like, sure, let's just do it, see what happens. And when I got in the truck with him, we had no determined, like I didn't have a set day that I was going to leave. It was just like, let's just see what happens here.
Just go.
And it just kind of fell into place. It ended up being 8 days. And I had to go to the Natso show. So it was great. And he's a world-class guy.
Absolutely. Really absolutely. So the interesting story with Chris is I was going to F3 back in November, and I was looking through the attendees of F3, and I saw owner operator from Autumn Transport, and I happen to know a few people from Autumn Transport on their operations, and just it's a Minnesota carrier, and I'm from Minnesota. So I reached out to the people at Autumn Transport, and I said, you guys have an owner operator going to F3. What's up with that? And, does the guy want to meet people, or what's the story? And they go, oh yeah, it's Chris. He's been here a long time. Apparently he's with a network of people. And then I figured out he was hanging with Reed. And so either way, I sought Chris out at F3, and I introduced myself to him there. And I think he was the first guest on Driving Forward. So he was our first guest on the show. And I just consider him absolutely top notch across the board, not only as a owner operator, driver, but as a general human being. His insight
100%.
on things, just there. As soon as I heard he was coming to Manifest, I said, "Hey man, you got to come to our Top Golf event." So he came out and hung out with us for a while, and that was nice. And I was just, super proud of him, because back at F3, he was talking. We talked a little bit about what imposter syndrome, and he was wondering how to use these tools he was given, which is, how does he put his voice out there and whatnot. And he's done such a great job with that. So, circling back on your trip with Chris, what were kind of your major takeaways from that 8-day trip?
Yeah, I would say one of the most interesting things that came out of it was, I made a post about this the other day. One night we genuinely got to a point where like, ooh, I don't know if we're gonna find any, safe, suitable, parking for us. And it became an odd thing where we didn't have any locations within a few hours. We're right off of I-80 at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And Chris was like, I could see he was looking. I thought that's what he was doing, looking for parking, but he didn't say anything to me. And he was kind of looking around, like behind, like we were going down this this highway just off of I-80, and he was looking around. He didn't say what he was doing, but I could see him looking like behind restaurants and stuff. And he found just like this little honey hole with a couple other trucks parked there, that wasn't a formal truck parking location, but it didn't say no truck parking or anything, and it felt relatively safe. But we went up to the Sap Brothers, and he was fueling up, and he goes, if there isn't parking right back there behind that restaurant over there, we're gonna be in a weird spot, because he's like, everything is full. And I was like, yikes. And so we're like, doing everything we can, Googling, and just, I was looking around, and I was like, wow, this is weird. And ultimately, there was like one or two spots behind that, like mom and pop restaurant, and we got parked, and it was absolutely fine. There wasn't any issues, but I was just like, wow, this is wild. Just to be in the scenario, and
Yeah.
um,
What in the
the
scenario
mental side of it.
you're working to solve? Yeah. So it's good to see. I mean, I'm glad I read that post, and in the back of my head, I was thinking it's good for you to see the scenario, or be in the scenario that you're solving. Good day, and welcome to the first episode of Driving Forward. We're going to see how this goes. I'm sure I'm going to make a ton of mistakes and learn as I go here. The first episode is going to be a solo episode with just me. I've talked to a bunch of people, and we thought that I had a somewhat unique story on how I got into transportation and how I've grown my career. So we thought exploring that over a few minutes and kind of putting it out there for discussion was a good place to start. So I appreciate your interest in the program. Please look for upcoming episodes that will be interviewing one or more people at a time. I'm excited to bring people on the podcast that come from my career and look to see or spend some time with them to review what they're up to in their careers and review the solutions that they're bringing to market today. Not to mention the stories, go over their stories. I'm very interested in finding a few of my former drivers and learning what they're up to today as well. So very excited to see if we can get a few people like that on the podcast and learn what they're up to. So with that being said, why did I get into transportation? Many years ago, I was in college for law enforcement, and I decided that law enforcement was not going to be a long-term career choice for me. And the something that my dad had said to me was, I can't back up a truck. So I decided to prove him wrong. And I went and I learned how to back up a truck. I did some heavy duty towing. Actually, I really started out at a towing company first, doing dispatching and some light duty work and recovery. And then once I was able to, I went to a Class A school. I moved out of towing and went to a Class A school for Gainey transportation. The Class A school was in Fordyce, Arkansas, and it was definitely a unique experience for me. It was a significant culture change coming from Minnesota, moving to Fordyce, Arkansas for several months to get my Class A. And knowing what I know now in transportation, having run large truck lines and worked with large truck lines and worked with thousands of drivers over my career, I certainly wouldn't wish that experience on anyone today with the way that school was operating. But that being said, it was certainly an experience, and I did get my Class A. I did get lots of endorsements as well, and I did go over the road with Gainey for a period of time. My first load with Gainey was out of Kalamazoo, Michigan to Manhattan. And being a new driver, 21 years old, taking a load of steel case material to actually the World Trade Center was probably not the best choice for a dispatch, but I got it done. It was very interesting. Then I think 3 loads after that, my next load was a load of batteries going over the Eisenhower Pass. So I couldn't go through the tunnel because I was carrying hazmat. So the switchbacks over the mountains were probably also not the best choice to put a new 21-year-old driver on. But trial by fire, and I'm still alive today. I've done many other crazy things throughout the years as a driver as well. So, certainly any experienced driver, that's not a big deal, but it's business as usual, and it's how we get things done. But it's definitely not something I'd put a new driver on today. So, but that's how I got into transportation, or how I got into driving specifically. I was technically in transportation after my dad told me I couldn't back up a truck. So, fast forward a while, I started to enjoy, really I got into the transportation side temporarily. I was just wanting to see the country, understand, kind of how the world worked, being a person and not having traveled a lot throughout my life. So I used the truck to kind of get around and understand, make the world a smaller place, which certainly driving over the road does that. You wake up on Monday on one side of the country and you go to bed on Saturday on the other side of the country. And suddenly the world becomes small. And so I got very interested in not only how the trucks operate and the machinery behind that and the technology behind that, but the functions and the processes and the idea around how to structure a trucking company and the logistics and the concepts around that. And that kept going through my head on this would be something that I might be interested in. So it wasn't too long after I got in a truck that I was looking to get out of a truck and into an office. So my next move shortly after that was to go back into heavy duty towing, because it was a simple move for me to get out of the over the road scenario and into an office again, where I was dispatching and doing some heavy duty work. Shortly after that, I spent about a year doing that again, and then ended up in a bulk fleet doing dispatch and safety work, which was kind of my target. I spent a little while doing that. It's really the first 2 mentors in the industry, being a young person in the industry. My first 2 mentors, Lee Arntz and Jeff Hamill. The company I was working for at that time was called Prairie Lines, a very small company based out of Minnesota. But they kind of showed me the ropes on this is how you operate a small company in the 90s. And we spent a lot of time together, and I still drove from time to time as needed, kind of the backup guy, but I instituted a little bit of a dispatch system that I had built on my own while I was there, because we were dispatching via paper, and built out a variety of different things. But I learned a lot from Lee, who was your old school trucker. And I haven't seen Lee in many years. I'm not sure he's still with us today, because he was not a young man in the 90s. But I learned a lot from Lee on how to move freight and how to work with people and drivers and et cetera. So after spending a few years with Prairie Line, I had an opportunity to move more into dry van freight. And that was kind of I think that was my passion anyway. It's what I really wanted to do. And I moved to a company called Major Transport, which brought me to my other two mentors that I consider in the industry, which is Wayne Huvestal and Tom Dahlberg. Wayne and Tom taught me a lot of things as well, kind of in a different style and at a different level. We grew that company to a much larger size than the previous company I was with. I spent many years at Major Transport, eventually selling that company. We made a lot of friends there. That company grew in size. I still have people from Major Transport that work with me today at GLCS. Learned a lot during that time in transportation. Technology was really taking off. We had EDI was around, but it was becoming far more known at mid and small fleets, far more adopted at mid and small fleets. Your mobile comm was being presented at mid and small fleets, far more adopted as well there. Everyone typically had some form of TMS. Imaging solutions were being adopted widely. It was, the tech growth in transportation. I became very interested and very strong in technology at that time. Circling back to Wayne and Tom, Wayne enabled me to do a lot of things, being the owner of the company, and I think we were pretty successful with Major Transports, and I appreciate everything that he allowed us to do. We eventually sold that company. Tom taught me how to sell. He's a guy that's been around the industry for many years. Eventually, he started his own fleet and had that for several years as well. But learned a lot of things from Tom. So the number one, the way to sell in transportation and work with not only customers but other carriers as well. So that led me into 5 years where I shifted around between a few different fleets, including a fleet that I owned myself. But I ran a variety of carriers and logistics organizations over the next 5 years. Following that 5-year period, I joined TMW Systems prior to the acquisition from Trimble. And I enjoyed technology prior to this. It actually was something, when we sold Major Transport, I had thought I was potentially going to go into consulting, and I never did. At that time, I was still fairly young. I never really went the consulting route after the sale of Major Transport. In 2011, I decided to take a chance and move away from the operations and management side of transportation and move into the technology side of the industry. And it's probably the best decision I've made throughout my career. I've known all the major players technology wise throughout my career. I've always been interested in that, but now I'm seated next to them for the most part. And at TMW Systems, I worked with hundreds of companies, looking at their processes, streamlining their processes, and built out a team that optimized those processes over a 5.5-year period. It was a really great team. We had a wonderful group of people that we worked with there. There's some people that are still there today. I find that there's an alumni that is extremely respectful of one another. Many of us keep aware of where everyone's at and what everyone's doing, and it's kind of like a fraternity or sorority or some sort of group like that. So, but I envy my time at TMW Systems. It's one of my highlights in my career. And looking back at where I had worked previously, really Major Transport and TMW Systems were two great employers that I can't replace. In 2016, I started GLCS, and the future at GLCS looks very good. We have a lot of business. We have a lot of customer interest. We've been growing month over month by several net new customers. So we're excited to see what the future brings here, but we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the mentors that I've had throughout the industry that kind of brought us along the way. Circling back on some of this, I also want to talk a little bit about all the drivers that I've known throughout the years. So I've talked to a few people today, and this podcast will continually circle back towards the drivers in the industry. It does not matter what role you have in transportation today. You would not have your role if it wasn't for drivers. And there are many drivers. I've called out several of them in social media over the last week with Driver Appreciation Week. There's many of them, and I can't even count them all, but that have impacted me, that have been just great people throughout the years. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. We wouldn't be here today. My career wouldn't have gone the way that it's gone. So thank you all for everything that you've done. I said it at every driver meeting I've ever been to. I'll continue to say it to every driver I ever meet, but thank you for what you do. You don't have to work for me. I actually work for you. And whether you're driving for a customer of ours or you're a driver that works for a fleet that I've never heard of, it doesn't matter. We are here to support you and make your life easier. And sometimes you may not believe that, but ultimately there's a lot of people out here that are pulling for you.
Hi, my name's Nate Johnson. I'm with GLCS. We're at Trimble Insight 2024, and it's National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. I just wanted to thank all the truck drivers for everything that you do. The world would not work unless you get in the truck every day, get behind the wheel, and do what we all appreciate that you do. So thank you. Keep the left door shut, keep running down the road, and be safe.
My name's Dalton with CDL Transport, and I want to give a shout out to all the CDL Transport drivers and all the drivers throughout the United States. Thank you for all you do.
Hey, this is Lindsay Trent with the Next Generation Trucking Association, and I just want to genuinely thank every driver out there that sacrifices day in and day out to keep America full of all the goods that we have and to sometimes have to leave your family. So thank you for all you do. We appreciate you.
Hey everyone, my name is Mac. I work with Manifold, and I want to take the time today to really thank the drivers in our industry, not just in America but across the world, for bringing the goods and services that we use every single day. It's a thankless job at times, but we're extremely appreciative of it.
Ryan, Martin Transportation, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Just want to take a moment to thank all the drivers out there running the miles up and down the road, driving in the good weather, the bad weather, to keep the things moving.
Hi, this is David Harris here. I'm with ComData. I just wanted to take the time today to thank all of our drivers out there. We really appreciate everything you do.
Hi, my name is Kyle Burton. I'm with K&B Transportation. I'd like to thank all the hardworking truck drivers out there. Thank you for everything you do.
Hey guys, Doug Schreier here, Vice President Growth and Special Projects for McLeod Software. Just want to take the time today to wish everyone a happy Driver Appreciation Week. Our hearts go out to the drivers. They have one of the toughest jobs in this economy. Please stay safe out there. And from all of your McLeod family, we appreciate what you do.
Hi, my name is Mark Anderson with ODW Logistics, Distrans. I'd like to give a shout out to all the drivers out there making our freight move around the world every day safely and efficiently. We appreciate all the hard work. Have a great Driver Appreciation Week.
Hi everybody, I'm John Elsner with Pedigree Technologies. Just wanted to thank you very much for the service you do and keeping the roads safe. You guys are so critical to our infrastructure and making this economy go. Thanks very much. We appreciate your hard work.
Hey, you got Chad Olison here from AVRL. Just wanted to thank all the truck drivers out there for doing everything you do. The economy wouldn't run without you. We just appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Paul. I work over at Samsara and just want to say thank you guys for everything that you do. This country wouldn't run without you, and I hope you guys always get home safely. And it's always been a pleasure to work with you guys in this industry.
Hey truckers, Dave Romanchuk here with Revenova TMS. I just wanted to say, I think we all know that you guys are super instrumental and foundational to the industry, so really appreciate all the efforts and we'll continue to support you in the best way that we can. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Cindy Murins with H&M Trucking. Just wanted to say thank you to all of our drivers and all of the drivers out there on the road. Be safe, you are the backbone of our industry and we couldn't do it without you. Thanks.
Hello, this is Steph and Tom from Alvis TMS. Wanted to salute all the drivers out there. Thank you for making our world run.
Evan Shelley, co-founder and CEO of Truck Parking Club. Just want to wish all the drivers out there a great Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Truck Parking Club is giving away $25 in free parking to any drivers that want to try out Truck Parking Club for the first time. We know truck parking is a huge issue and really appreciate everything that drivers do helping move goods all across the U.S. and really honored to be a part of this industry.
What do you do that sets up that support staff to be successful? Because there's only one of you here. So you obviously have practices that you do on a daily basis that make you successful.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you're only as good as your smallest habit is. So you just got to keep refining those habits. I'm lucky enough to where, sorry, I didn't mean knock that for you. I'm fortunate enough to where I don't have to be self-dispatched. We have direct customers here with Fortune Transportation. And it's just clockwork. I do a dedicated that goes out to Boise, Idaho, and then I've got a dedicated that's cheese coming back. And those loads, a lot of those loads are still sitting there in like the Twin Falls area in Idaho, just because people don't want to deal with the Rocky Mountains.
Right. That's some of my favorite running.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my goodness, yeah, I'll take it all the time.
West is best.
I'm like, why are you guys afraid of this?
Yeah, I'll run that all year long. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, it's good running. There's parking. So
yes,
I've never had to deal with the parking issue like you guys have to today. But I used to run East Coast a lot, and then I switched and started running West Coast, and I'll run West Coast all the time. So, but yeah, that's a great dedicated run. So you run out to Boise area and back?
Yep. So leave out Sunday, and I'm usually home by Friday.
Wow, that's good. So that's a good run. So, and so it was 2023. Was that early 2023 that you started then?
That was week 1, 2023. Okay. So
about
we had Christmas, New Year's, and then I came on here. So
about a year and a half. So.
Yep.
And 1,004 miles, 1,400,000. Yep. Is that accurate? So,
yeah, that's right on the money. That's pretty close. So yeah. I've just been, they set up the miles and I just knock them down. So, but no, that's over career wide. So I spent a lot of time with another previous company, and they were fortunate enough to give me, with being local, 500 to 600 miles a day. So
okay. Yeah, that's not common either. So.
Yeah, that was, it was one of those things where they entrusted me with that run, and you just gotta get out there and get after it.
Wow. What would you say is one of the more, no, actually before I ask that question, how many years have you been over the road?
So this year and a half is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's my big over the road right now. Okay. I'm living it.
So
still got a smile on my face.
yeah, fair enough. So so what's one of the more interesting places that the road has taken you?
Oh, I mean, I've always been the kind of guy that when I go on vacation, I want to go to the ocean, right? Um, but then you drive through Montana and you see these beautiful mountains. And there's this little town that I love to just, if I take a 30-minute break there, or good. If I get to take a 10-hour break there, even better, because
Yeah.
they've got this parking in a little place called Silver Star, Montana. And they've got this absolute beautiful river just running at the bottom of the mountains. You get the mountains in the background, and you just hear that river flowing peacefully, and you can't help but put your shoulders down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No.
So
I can almost feel that myself. My story in trucking, was in Kentucky at not necessarily a similar place with the water, but I love the water in general. I'm a water guy. So, but just, you wake up in the morning, surrounded by the foothills around. I don't really call them mountains. Some people might call them mountains, but that's not mountains.
Yeah, you got rolling hills.
Where
and you
you're
got
out in
mountains.
Montana,
Yeah.
that's those are mountains. So, but you wake up, you got the fog. It's just the whole ambiance of everything, and there's only certain times that you get that sort of space, and you just that instant relax. That you get a few of those times. It's a lot different than when you're driving in the city.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
you don't get that experience driving local. So
No, local. You get to name the trees every day.
Right, exactly. You've been on the road a long time. So since 1982, you said.
1982 was when I started driving.
Right.
2006 was when I was more full-time on the road.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2006, that's approaching 20 years as a livelihood. So, can you share a story from your time on the road that has left an impact on you? I'm sure there's probably many, but is there one that comes immediately to mind when I ask that question?
I don't have any one that sticks out in my mind, but I have an analogy that fits for us being out on the road. I was asked to speak at my graduating class ceremony for Minnesota State Patrol.
Okay.
And I compared our work in commercial vehicle inspection like an astronaut being shot up into space, in say a space shuttle or whatever. You might think you're alone, but you're not really alone because you have the full support of the ground crew keeping you together and addressing whatever issues come up. They have the plan. They've worked out a plan, and we just have to work the plan. If you plan your work and work your plan, life is good. So what has happened here is I've run into IT issues. So I call, and Olivia is our receptionist. Before Olivia was Chelsea. And I said, I need to talk to Josh. She connects me to Josh. And I say, Josh, here's my problem. And he dissects what needs to happen. 2 weeks ago, I was up to Marathon City delivering a load of cheese. I shut off my truck so we can conserve fuel, go in, find out the dock door, come out, click, 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 click. Yeah. I call and I said, I need to talk to Amber or Kurt in the shop. Sure, they connect. They tell me what to do. They say, you got your handy dandy little hammer? Go grab it. Tap the body of the starter. Don't hit the arm, hit the body.
That's old
Started
school.
up and it started and they said, now don't shut it off.
Right.
I said, but idling, we're going to burn up. But it's a lot cheaper to burn a little extra fuel than to pay a on the road service thing. So I have the support of a whole team that cares for me and supports me so I can do like what Perry has described. He said, our job of having a good record and reputation of success and safety is you hire quality people. You give them the tools, resources, support that they need. Open the gate and let the horses run.
So, what I admire most about truck drivers is the commitment that it takes to be a truck driver. Some people think it's really cool, like I can get in a truck, I can drive across country, and I can see all this stuff and experience different places. But what most people don't consider is the fact that a truck driver is gone, they're not home, and they're gone all the time or a long period of time. And even for truck drivers who tend to be considered local drivers, they still are, they still commit a lot of their time to being away from home. And people sometimes, when they're shopping in Costco and the Walmarts and the Sam's Clubs, they forget that somebody brought that product to that store so they could buy it. And there's multiple trucks and drivers that are in that chain that get that product to where it is. So they're the reason why we can get what we want or what we need. And it's the same thing with everything that you purchase, no matter where you are. It got there by a truck. And each person, each truck driver commits themselves to that. And those long haul over the road drivers, they give so much of themselves to this industry, and sometimes I think it's a thankless job. And I just want to shout out and say thank you to drivers for doing what you do, because it's great.
Hello. How is trucking most impacting my life? It allows me the opportunity to work outdoors, meeting all kinds of people, and if managed properly, improve my lifestyle with a larger income.
How has truck driving impacted my life? It's impacted my life by helping me pay all my bills, seeing new places I've never been to or thought I would be going to, being good for my family. That's just trucking. That's how trucking impacted my life.
Trucking has impacted my life by giving me a ways to provide for my family.
How has trucking impacted my life? Well, I have to say, in a very positive way. I make a great living. I see a lot of cool places.
Let's talk a little bit about your heart transplant. So that's going to take you off the line for a year. That's probably about the biggest surgery you can have. So
Yes,
you want to
sir.
expand on that a little bit?
Yes, sir. I've really kind of been pretty shy and been hiding it from people, but as of recently, I spoke with my wife and some other friends, and people tell me I need to start talking about it. So I do. I open up, from time to time. But yes, I'm actually going to be in Jacksonville, Florida, for a whole year. Going to the Mayo Clinic. That is a clinic that specializes in organ transplants. So I want my life to be taken care of in the best hands possible. And God, the universe, has truly made a way for that to happen. In 2020, May of 2020, I actually had a heart attack at the pilot truck stop right off of I-20. So that's why I'm here now. But I'm bringing more awareness about driver health and driver safety as well.
I appreciate you opening up about that, and we're praying for you. I know I'm praying for you. I hope that works out in the best way possible. It sounds like you have a long journey ahead of you, and I'm going to be checking it. I mean, people that know me know that I have a tendency. You and I just met, and we've been talking a little bit here, but I'll probably be checking in on you from time to time.
I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot.
So you brought up driver health. Let's talk a little bit about driver health. I know that was a topic you wanted to speak about, but I think this is a good segue into that. I agree with you. There's not, life on the road is difficult to make great choices around health, whether it's food, whether it's exercise, both. There's a lot more tools today to be able to prepare meals in your truck than there was 20, 30 years ago.
Yes, sir.
But do you have some topics you want to kind of hit on directly with driver health today? Do you have want to expand upon that a little bit?
Those tools that you speak of are grateful, and we're very grateful for those tools. The industry has come a long way with those tools. But my issue about it is, okay, first of all, I don't want to, seem like the truck driver that's always crying. But yes, you can be healthy out on the road. Yes, if you're very disciplined, you can be healthy. There are some truckers out there that are healthy and exercising when they park that truck and all that. I mean, a bag of candy is $2.99 versus a box of fruit in a truck stop is like $7.89, $7.99.
Right.
It just doesn't
Right.
make sense to me. Then, yes, truckers. On my platform, I've been telling, hey, we need to start cleaning up our trash. These people are letting us in their facilities, but we're constantly trashing up their facilities. The reason why I say that is, yes, you can bobtail to the local Walmart and go and fill your truck up with groceries if you got a refrigerator. But if you're alongside I-10 down there by Lafayette, Louisiana, and all them Walmarts got big yellow poles up where truckers can't fit in them because they don't want us in there. So
Right.
now they don't want us in there. Now we gotta park the truck at a truck stop. We gotta spend money to go get an Uber. Then we get to Walmart, spend money doing that. Then we gotta go back to the Uber. Then we gotta take all our groceries out the Uber, put them in the truck, and it's just to eat healthy, just to be healthy out here. So I feel like the industry in that standpoint, I feel like we should do better. I think that might be more of a governmental and a business standpoint, with loves and pilots and all that. Because when I was out there in 2015, I was always stopping at the Petros, getting the iron skillet, or the TAs with the country prides. But if you notice, a lot of TAs don't really have country prides in them anymore.
Right.
They started shutting them
No.
down. And then they started replacing them with Popeyes. So I
Right.
just don't understand it.
Yeah, and I mean your good restaurants available to drivers at the large truck stops are gone. I mean, they're all but
Yeah.
gone. So
Yes,
now
sir.
you're down to fast food. And not that you want to be eating at a restaurant every day either. That's not exactly a healthy, but it's a healthy option, but it's certainly better than Taco Bell. So
Yes.
but that being said, when I drove, one of the first things I'd do, especially if I was headed out for a week or longer, is I would make a beeline towards a grocery store. Now, I didn't have ELDs to deal with. I was on paper logs many moons ago. So, you'd go straight to a grocery store and you'd load up for your trip. And that's how I would manage my week, or
Yes, sir.
2 or 3. And in a 2 or 3 scenario, you could never carry enough, but I usually could carry a week of groceries with me pretty easily. So some of it's trip planning, which is something else I think, we wanted to chat about. I may be wrong on that one, but the trip planning around selecting kind of where you want to go, and this is or where you want to go, where you want to purchase any items as you're going along the way, because to your point, there are some cities, there are some metropolitan areas, there are some areas that you just simply don't want to go buy groceries. For example, if you're in LA or California, you probably don't want to go shopping there, so everything's going to cost more. So you'd probably want to go somewhere else to get that, especially if you're going in and out. I mean, if you're running around that area regionally, then it is what it is. So, but yeah, to that point, I mean, eating healthy is something, and I get your discussion too around after you put 600 miles in, mentally you're fried, and you don't necessarily want to do much in the way of walking or moving or that type of thing. But some guys just need to. I think it comes down to, I'm a big guy. I had mentioned the other day, from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, I dropped 50 pounds. And,
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, it took some effort. It took some change in lifestyle. Now I still want to do it. The next 50, I want to drop another 50 pounds.
Yes, sir. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going.
Keep going, right? But the next 50 pounds is going to take another type of change in lifestyle, where I need to force myself to do different types of movements and that's the same thing with a driver. If you at the end of the day, you're tired, but you still got to get up and do that 15-minute walk, do that 15, 30 minutes a day total at least, but maybe that's 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon or in the evening, or whatever times you're starting, 15 minutes before you start your shift and 15 minutes when you're done. What is the most rewarding part of working in the trucking industry?
I would say honking the horn. Nothing better than making a kid smile.
I love that part too. So yeah, the kids smile. There's actually a statement on there talking, or I have a video clip out there talking with another driver on the podcast back in January, talking about the difference between a Volvo horn and a Pete horn. And there's a clip of us both doing this because it's a Volvo, and you gotta, the kids are going like this, and you don't want to hit the horn like that. So, but yeah, no, I get you entirely. So
no, I mean, I like being a part of the industry. You're one driver out of 3.5 million that keeps the America moving, and it's just nice to be, just a small part of that. I think is a big deal.
And when you really get down to it, if you figure how much freight you move on a daily basis, it may be a small part of the whole, but it's a big part of your community. You're moving a lot of freight on a daily basis, and that impacts a lot of people's lives. Nothing without trucking. Americans purchase products every day in stores and online, expecting them to be available or show up on doorsteps the next morning. We carry a quiet confidence that can get what we want precisely when we want it. It's all because a truck made it happen. Trucking has always been America's backbone, but remember, it has come a long way. Like many successful industries, the trucking industry has evolved and embraced the values important to Americans, like safety, innovations, and environmental responsibility. There are countless real human stories of those who sacrifice their time for our comfort. Whether it's the holidays or the middle of the night, truckers guarantee when we get what we need. The men and women who work in the trucking industry are the unsung heroes who keep the heart of America beating strong. Nothing without trucking tells the story of trucking, an essential industry for America's growth and key players in innovation. So I've spent my 28-year career in trucking. I'm intertwined into this industry in a way that can't be undone. I started in the industry before I was an OTR driver, but I recall being a 21-year-old starry-eyed driver with a lot of thoughts and plans. 28 years later, I've accomplished so many different things, from being a trucking company owner, driving nearly 1 million miles. I don't know how many miles, but a lot of miles. Owning a technology company, managing divisions of technology companies, things I couldn't have possibly imagined when I was 21 years old, lining up my truck, driving away by myself for the first time, picking up a load of steel case furniture going to Manhattan. My name's Nate Johnson, and I am nothing without trucking. Allergies, as he says, during that session when they put up everybody's story. Being a former driver, I've been in the industry 28 years. The stories that you guys have and that they put up there. So can you tell us a little bit about your story? You've been driving 25 years. Yes. So tell us how you got in the industry, where you come from, and just your passion for driving a little bit.
Right. Well, you better have your napkins ready, or tissue. You
No,
might get
boy, here we
teary-eyed.
go. That's why I have the jacket, so I can.
He goes before me.
Yeah, I do.
I have waterproof mascara on today.
I'm an emotional guy. A lot of feelings.
Well, how I actually got started truck driving was, long story short, I was coming out of a really bad relationship, domestic violence. And I was looking for an escape for myself, to better myself. I didn't know my self-worth. Mm-hmm. And my uncle was a truck driver, and he was like, you know what, why don't you get your CDL, be a truck driver? And I'm like, I don't think I could do that, because I was working in the office at that time for another company. Sure. In citation and permits. And I'm like, I don't know if I really could do it, because I didn't know my strength. Mm-hmm. And I was just getting tired of it, of the abuse. verbally, physically. I had the whole works.
Sure.
And sure enough, I went to CDL school. And first day I showed up on Monday. I look in the back of the room. Guess who was back there? The person I was trying to run away from.
Really? Oh, wow.
He signed up to get his CDL.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to escape this.
Right, right.
So I went directly to the instructor and I said, hey, you know what? I'm joining this because of my situation. I told him.
Sure.
And he goes, sweetie, don't worry about it. Just do you, and we'll keep you guys separated. Once you get your license, he's going to go with another trainer. You're going to go with another trainer. You probably will never see him again.
Okay.
And I'm like, are you sure? You know, I just felt so weak again. I'm like, I got my strength to go. And there he was. And he just kept telling me, you know, when you're done, we're going to team drive. And I'm like, oh, man, how is this going to end? And, you know, I went my 2 weeks of CDL school at that time. And sure enough, at that time, it was 8 weeks of over-the-road training.
Sure.
You know, and I did not see him again. You know, and then I'm like, wow, okay, this is happening. I can actually find myself and everything. So here I am enjoying the best life, being a truck driver.
Right.
Running into him at a truck stop.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, am I going to escape? This is big. This is the United States. How am I going to escape this guy?
Right, right.
And you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm driving a big rig now. I got strength. I found myself. And I just whacked past him like he was nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do me. For once in my life, I got my strength. I'm going to do me.
Right.
You know, and it helped me a lot at that time because financially, I needed a place to live. Financially, you know, I needed money to provide for myself. But also with that said, my brother was a gunshot victim. And my mother and I could not afford the bills. So me truck driving actually helped me pay those bills and help my mother out. I actually stood in my truck, lived in my truck for 7 years straight.
Wow.
Saved up all my checks like a good little girl. I was able to buy my mom's house. Buy her house.
Yeah, we needed to get the tissues right. Good Lord.
Bring my brother home. To bring my brother home from the hospital.
Yeah.
To care for him. So I did that and I stopped driving probably about 6 months, maybe 8 months, because now we needed someone to care for my brother who was on life support, feeding tube, you know, catheter, everything.
Yeah.
So here I'm doing a crash course on how to care for my brother. And, you know, because there was no one there. And I'm like, okay, I got to do this. So here I am again, putting another hat and trying to be strong, you know, to handle that. And then my other brother was able to get involved and help. And then financially, it makes me think how far I came from to where I'm at now in life.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, I actually did escape. I actually found my voice, found my strength. And I'm able to pass on that message on to other women or even men, because there's men that get abused and people think like, no, they don't. They do. They don't know their self-worth, or they don't have a voice, or they don't have someone to hold their hand to show them the ropes. And me, where I'm at now in life, you know, much older, more mature, got my strength, got a voice.
Yeah.
You know, I like to pass that baton on and show them the strength. You know, you're capable of doing it. You know, if I could do it, you could do it.